All right, welcome back to Blackberry News, where everything is connected. Let's get into it. Good to see you. We got people watching on Substack. That's awesome. We are live on X today. This is the last day for sure. I tried to stream to X to see what would happen, and yes, we're on X today. Today is the last day. If you're watching on X, please mosey on over to Substack or Odyssey or YouTube. X is going away after today. Today will be the last day that I stream on X. Getting a lot more people watching on Substack. I appreciate it. Malcolm Young says, silver is behaving exactly as I expected. Yeah. It's doing really well. I would like to pick up some more. Just on a personal note. Bulla is getting lunch. All right. Get delicious lunch. Malcolm Young sliding in at first. Going south from Greenland. What's up from Greenland? Sunny Greenland. Sunny Greenland. Get it straight, pal. As you can see, it's a beautiful day here. You like the perspective, Poppy? Nice. Side eyes. Yeah, I think it's cool to get a different view, I think. I think the chats now should be showing up on the browser on Substack, so I think I can respond to you. Yeah. Okay. I'll see you. Yeah, it's a pretty day in LA. Even though it started out very, crisp, as it were. We had a storm come through, and we got kind of a decent amount of rain. Pretty good amount of rain. the night before last, and yesterday. Kind of rained all day. Creative says silver will drop. Malcolm says silver will keep going up. It's going to be a dogfight. Salt Laker sold their liver. Good to know. I saw silver at 52, which is almost 53. Jesus Christ almighty. Pretty good. Considering that bad boy was at like 33 or 32 like 6 months ago. So that's pretty good. Almost doubled in 6 months. Fairly significant, I should say. Let's see. Actually, let's see, where was it? In April of this year, about 6 months ago, it was all the way down to 28. So it has basically doubled in 6 months. That is pretty incredible. Gold about the same, pretty much the same. So those are pretty good investment. Maybe not doubled for gold, but gold has doubled in the year, like since the beginning of the year. I'm gonna say, yeah, since the beginning of the year, almost doubled since the beginning of the year. Both of those are pretty good investments. Not financial advice. All right. Now that we've checked on the gold and silver prices, well, they always cut you creative. That's what's annoying about buying gold and silver, is that when you buy it, you pay a premium, and then when you sell it, you pay a premium. It's like, dude, you just took all of my profit, right? You know, that's the, yeah. Like, you charged me, $5 an ounce when I bought it, and then you charge me $5 an ounce when I sell it. How am I supposed to make a profit, fool? It's just all the profit just goes to the dealers. It's crazy. If not annoying. All right, we're live on Odyssey. Anybody watching on Odyssey? We're here. If everybody wants to pick a place to chat that is not YouTube, it could be Odyssey, or it could be Substack, wherever you want. Either one. If you want an alternative to chatting on YouTube. Right. Your silver needs to go up $10 from the price you bought it to be worth it. Right. And then you don't have any profit. So in order, probably now is the only time I have ever held silver that has actually profited me money, because if I sold it now, I actually would have some profit to show for it, because it has risen almost double. So it's actually beyond the premium that I paid and that I would get charged when I sold it. It is beyond that. So this is the first time I've ever seen it go up this high, this much. Every other time I've owned silver, I basically lost money. Get solar together, says Malcolm. The good idea. I'd agree with that. I'd say that's a fair call. Poppy says it's going to be 84 degrees here today. Unseasonably warm fall, but La Nina is here, so likely cold ass winter in the Midwest. 84 is toasty. It is toasty. Yeah, I mean, people complain about paying the fees when you buy crypto, but I can tell you that you can make a lot more profit. And crypto swings so hard, right? Silver and gold don't swing as hard as crypto swings. So if you want to make profit, I don't know if silver and gold are the way to go unless you're buying ETFs on a short. All right. Well, let's get into it. We were talking a little bit about the ceasefire or the non-ceasefire yesterday. I mean, so far it is a ceasefire. For all intents and purposes, it is a ceasefire. However, there's still some killing and some looting and some burning going on. Some looting, shooting, and a wailing going on. And so a lot of people are questioning whether the ceasefire is going to hold or whether it's really going to continue going forward. This is power to the people from yesterday. Israel has broken the ceasefire agreement with multiple attacks across Gaza today. Nobody should be surprised by this. Ceasefires mean nothing to Israel, nor does a ceasefire end the occupation. This fake peace deal was nothing more than a PR campaign for Israel and Trump. Apparently, they opened fire, killing several Palestinians. I see 5 here, but I heard many more than that. Conducted a drone strike on Khan Yunis, bombed north of Gaza City. Defense Minister Israel Katz posted to social media stating that he had instructed the IDF to prepare for carrying out the mission of demilitarizing Gaza and neutralizing Hamas of its weapons following the release of those being held in Gaza. So another thing that they're talking about is the fact that this has not been fully agreed to. Poppy is trying to get people over to Substack. It's a great idea. Everybody go watch on Substack. I think it's a fine idea. You really can't see what I'm looking at on the screen. Maybe I can fix that with another camera eventually, but we're just getting different angles here. If you're on Odyssey, go ahead and like the video, and I can see the chat on Odyssey as well. There's also the sidebar here that Trump is giving Ukraine Tomahawk missiles. So, peace president indeed. Israel says it will now keep the Rafah crossing closed and significantly reduce humanitarian aid in response to Hamas's difficulty in locating the bodies of 4 deceased individuals to turn over to Israel. Oh, wow. So that's a fine bit of gaslighting there, right? They're saying, oh, Hamas isn't complying like we want them to comply, so we're going to keep blocking humanitarian aid. This isn't much of a ceasefire, is it? So while people were whooping it up and cheering and whatnot, over the last couple of days, it has not really ended anything. Shoot, this is gonna. It is a fine view, isn't it, Victory Jen? Caitlin Johnson, talking about Trump, he's just openly saying the ceasefire is fake and the killing is going to restart, and his dopey supporters are still on here demanding to be given trophies and prizes for making peace. Dopey supporters indeed. If you are a Trump bootlicker, bootlicking Twitter account, I hate you. I freaking hate you. I see you. I see you for what you are, freaking bootlicker. President Trump, they will disarm or we will disarm them. Trump outlined his stance. You're literally bootlicking Nazis. If you're a pro-Trump Twitter account, you are just a bootlicking Nazi. You have zero standing, moral standing, or moral authority, or anything. You do have the right to speak or to post whatever you want to post, because that's can you guys hear me okay? I'm gathering you can. I mean, you do have the right to speak and to post and say whatever you got to say. I'm just saying I have the right to call you a bootlicking Nazi, which you are. And bootlicking Nazis will be exposed. Donald Trump outlined his stance on disarming. Also, on top of that, if you are aiding and abetting criminal activity, which you are, being a bootlicking Nazi, well, then you actually might face some consequences eventually when people wake up and put your ass in jail. All right. Trump outlined his stance on disarming Palestinians resisting illegal Israeli occupation, declaring they will disarm or we will disarm them. He said it will happen quickly, perhaps violently. I'm sorry, I'm going to play this rambling, absolutely brain-addled speech from Trump. I apologize in advance, but you got to hear just how pathetic he sounds. Yep, this is right. Salt Lakers. Yep.
Take Hamas to disarm, and can you guarantee that is going to happen?
Well, they're going to disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you. But if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. Okay? Now, we did something monumental. We got the hostages back. That was the first thing we had to do. Above all else, get the hostages back. Now, they misrepresented because we were told they had 26, 24 of dead hostages, if we can use those terms. And it seems as though they don't have that because we're talking about a much lesser number. But that's a very tough subject. I want them back. That's what they said. I want them back. Also, they said they were going to disarm. And initially speaking, they needed, they did take out a couple of gangs that were very bad, very, very bad gangs, and they did take them out, and they killed a number of gang members. And that didn't bother me much, to be honest with you. That's okay. It's a couple of very bad gangs. It's no different than other countries. Like Venezuela sent their gangs into us, and we took care of those gangs. We have Washington, D.C., is one of the safest cities in the country. It was one of the worst cities in the country if you go back just a little while ago, right? Now it's safe. You can walk to work. Isn't it nice? But we have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Because everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me.
They didn't agree to anything.
Or we will disarm them. Got it? Okay,
What
next.
is the deadline for this?
That's all I can take. Bye-bye. This picture is real. The consent was fake. This is, hey, Sean King of all people. Trump unveiled a joint Gaza plan after letting Netanyahu rewrite it, and Trump then publicly pretended, they did not approve the text, and Trump publicly pretended they did. This is all I'm going to show of this actually, because I realize this is from a little bit longer ago than it should be. September 30th. And what about all the all the Palestinians who were beaten, tortured, maimed? Where did I see that? There, a lot of the bodies returned from Israel showed that they were, many of the prisoners were maimed, tortured, starved to death. Where did I see it? Israel returns 45 deceased bodies, shackled, mutilated, and tortured. Jesus. Bodies returns occurred during the ceasefire, making the attack a great. Oh, this is actually. CNN reports that 45 Palestinian bodies returned by Israel were delivered to Nasser Hospital with hands and legs bound in shackles. They came tagged with numbers, not identities. Some were blindfolded, some bore gunshot wounds, mutilated, and others appeared to have been run over by tanks. These disgusting ghouls, murderous freaking ghouls. Sorry if you can't see this. Body returns occurred during the ceasefire, making the attack a grave violation of its terms, raising horrific questions about how and why these civilians were killed. Oh, God. Israelis returned 80 decomposed Palestinian bodies without any signs of identification. This is the 5th batch delivered by truck. So they were committing serious crimes in their holding of these prisoners. Let's see. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Give me a sec. I have lost my place. In the past, so now the number I'm seeing is that 50 Palestinians were killed in Gaza in the last 48 hours by Israel. Israel says it claims, this is, guys, don't post stuff like this. All right. So there's a lot of evidence that Israel is still bombing and that they will continue to just do what they're doing as far as playing an occupying role in Gaza. And they're literally going to force Hamas to disarm, which doesn't sound like an agreement to me. Right? Salt Laker says in 2020, at least 6,182 people died in U.S. prisons, a significant increase from the 4,240 deaths in 2019. I wonder if that had to do with COVID. Al Jazeera, Poppy's saying. Well, when COVID happened, I was, one of the main thoughts that I had was like, thank God I am not. I know it's a weird, people just being regular people. Like you probably don't often think about being in prison, but you never know. For whatever reason, it's not hard to get on the wrong side of the law. But when COVID happened, I was like, thank God I am not in prison. Like, Jesus, what a horrible place to be during COVID. Everything shutting down. Like, I mean, can you imagine the absolute terror of that? Of the world shutting down and you're sitting in a prison? Holy shit. That would be just absolutely bonkers terrifying. So basically, this article is saying that Trump basically rewrote the ceasefire plan to include whatever Netanyahu wanted. I know we were talking a little bit about it. Denver was talking about it yesterday in the chats, saying that not even Netanyahu had agreed to everything in the ceasefire. But along the lines of like the fake Iran, bombing and end of whatever that supposed war was during the summer, like all that was an orchestrated, PR move that didn't really actually contain all that much positive PR for Trump. I don't think. Did it make Trump look good? That whole thing, I think mostly it made him look like an idiot, which is pretty much every fucking thing that he does makes him look like an idiot. I don't know, the leaders of the world, I think, cower to Trump only because he's in command of like the biggest military force in the world. But he doesn't really carry a lot of respect. I think most people look at him as a bumbling clown, along the lines of Biden being just a bumbling ass clown, a fool in charge of the biggest military in the world and the biggest economy in the world. Chad Miana says, I thought the ceasefire actually meant ceasefire. Here's a good post. Gentle reminder that ISIS was created by the U.S. government to fight the Shiite militants who were armed by the U.S. government to fight Saddam, who was armed by the U.S. government to fight Iran, who hates us because the U.S. government overthrew their elected leader and installed a brutal dictator. Oh, yeah. I mean, I do have actually some posts along that line that I wanted to read today about the violence being inflicted on people is totally avoidable. But all the violence is coming at the hands of the ruling class, right? I want to read this too while I have it up. I'm going to try and go through these posts a little more quickly now. It is bitterly cold in Gaza. Countless children and families are sleeping in tents on the streets and in the open with little to no protection. The majority of the population has been displaced, left exposed to the elements. Winter is approaching. The rains are coming, the winds are growing stronger, and still no plans to restore even a fraction of dignity to our people. Shame on the world for allowing this to go on. Shame on the media for turning away from their suffering. Trump also, I've been trying to talk about this. I guess it's a directive from Trump. An terrorist directive from Trump. Yeah, Salt Lakers, indeed. New directive NSPM 7 targets anti-capitalism, anti-Christian, and anti-American opinions as indicators of extremist violence, authorizing an army of 4,000 counterterrorism officers to prevent crimes that haven't happened. The list here, hold on. The list of indicators of violence is abhorrent and chilling. The Trump administration isn't only targeting organizations or groups, but even individuals and entities whom NSPM 7 says can be identified by any of the following indicators: anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration. These are very broad descriptions, by the way. Very loose, very broad, and a lot of things can, I'm sure, fall under this tent. Sorry if you can't see this. My bad. Let's put it back on the stage. Extremism on race, extremism on gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on morality. Yeah, somebody in the comments says hostility means basically disagreeing with them. Can be seen as hostility. Almost anything can be seen as hostility at this point. It doesn't really, it doesn't even matter. I mean, if you self-identify as a liberal or as a Democratic voter or if you say I'm anti-fascist, I am anti-fascist, you should be too. supposedly at one time this government or this, country or nation or whatever you want to call it was supposed to be against fascism, fought a war against it, supposedly. Yeah, Malcolm Young. I think most of us would be guilty of, or some of us would be guilty of most of those, or most of us would be guilty of some of those, whichever. Oh, but we'll get to the how the UK and the US are actually kind of operating on the same playbook. But very quickly, just for context, this is Jen Psaki. Remember her? The Biden press secretary in 2021. Kind of saying the same thing.
I also have some news to share on the president's response to domestic violent extremism. The January 6th assault.
If you remember, domestic violent extremism, when Biden was in office, was every MAGA Trumper. Now, when Trump's in office, it's just bizarre. When Trump's in office, it's every commie pinko liberal. Okay.
Assault on the Capitol and the tragic deaths and destruction that occurred underscored what we have long known. The rise of domestic violent extremism is a serious and growing national security threat. The Biden administration will confront this threat with the
and the amazing thing is all of these things were fake. All of these things were, January 6th and whatever Trump's doing, the immigration problem or the crime problem or the Antifa problem or the domestic terrorism problem. All of it is fake. It's all fake, right? But each side believes that, their side is completely right and being, oh my God, we've got to do, the Democrats were totally, oh my God, oh, insurrection, treason. Round them up. They were like totally into it. And now the Trump administration is doing exactly the same thing, when supposedly they were the victims of overreaction on the part of the Democrats. And now they're like, round them up. Antifa, totally domestic, violent extremists, domestic terrorists, round them up. And everybody on the right is like, yeah, yeehaw. It's like, God dang it. So, plenty of just not not reading the room and not understanding what's at play involved on both sides of the aisle. But, all of it is, concocted, driven. What is it? What's the term? Psychic driving that some people have been using lately, which I think is appropriate. That's what they're doing with news stories, with social media bots, with everything that's happening is psychic driving everybody to emotional responses to everything, so that and people have been confused about, I don't know what's happening, what oh my God, what's going on is they're creating this whole thing like it's not even freaking real. Steph C says, I think calling false flag events fake makes it seem like none of it was real. Don't forget about Juan Guaido. Yeah. Wine Guaido. How about that one? Well, none of it was real in the sense that, they did just whatever they said happened didn't happen. So, yeah, sure. Were there people breaking stuff and doing things and, whatever? Yeah. those things happen, but like almost everything around January 6th was like, if you actually looked at it for a few seconds, you could realize like, oh, none of that really makes a lot of sense. And then, you have Nancy Pelosi's daughter, making a following everybody around with a camera, making a documentary. You have several things happening around January 6th which indicated that people knew something like that was going to happen, or that they were intending for something like that to happen. Same with the Kirk assassination, right? I've seen several people say like that whole stadium, memorial that they had, they were like, they had that thing booked weeks in advance. How do they know? That memorial happened a week after he was killed. How do they book this? How do they book and arrange and conduct this whole, huge memorial for him in like 1 week? I don't know. That's what I've seen several people bring that up. It's a good question. How come there was never a trial for Trump getting everybody to come out there? Of course. It's all theater. Trump, it was intentional, right? They were intending for Trump to be like this big boogeyman. He was voted out, and then he tried to do an insurrect, big boogeyman. And then here he comes, runs for president again, which is everything about this is just insane, right? Like if you're really like playing bingo at home with everybody else. But if you see it as theater, if you see it as the America, the dramatic series on Netflix, then it totally, then it makes more sense. It was intended for Trump to be this big bad boogeyman who was going to run for president again, and then he becomes then he gets into office, thwarts the evil Democrats, and it's just, and then further driving everybody more insane, which was the whole point. Zelensky wants a fake ceasefire too, yeah. But they just sent them. They just sent him Tomahawk missiles, Denver. I don't think there's going to be peace in Ukraine for a little while. We're sending him Tomahawk missiles to escalate the war further. I don't see how that is a recipe for a peace deal. Yep, Victory Gin. Yeah, geo-tracking everybody the whole time. Yep. Talking about January 6th. The entire thing being, infiltrated by FBI agents and operators, right? That's well documented. I mean, the Proud Boys are all like FBI. It's all COINTELPRO stuff. Like the Proud Boys are just a concoction of the intelligence agencies, just like, Antifa is, right? Hamas, ISIS, Al Qaeda, they're all the same. They're all the same. Okay. Good point, nobody. Yep. They use the word theater in war, right? Because it is theater. DNC used Proud Boys to scare people to vote Democrat. All right. If you're watching on Odyssey, what's up? People on Odyssey, how you doing? That's hilarious, Denver. That ain't going to happen because they want it to keep going. They want that war to keep on going. That war is good for business or good for the agenda. You lost the chat on Substack? Oh no. I can see you, Poppy. I see you. It'll come, the chat will come back. It's just that people aren't chatting enough. If you refresh, I think you said that you refreshed. If you refresh to the next person that will chat, the chat will come back in. You just lost the chats prior to that, which is, not great, but not great. But I can see your chats. Guys, if you like the show, you want to support the show, lots of ways to support the show in the description box of whatever platform you're watching on. I don't think, although I don't have anything up on Substack, though. Don't have the links on Substack. I'll put the link tree on Substack. The link tree is on X. The links to donate are on YouTube and Odyssey. All the usual links are there. Are you really going to escape, Salt Lickers? Is that for real? Really and truly? I thought about it. Jai Rose says, some influencers are busy turning decolonization into a brand, but decolonization isn't merch or aesthetics. It's the end of capitalism and imperialism. Capitalism requires colonization, endless markets, endless accumulation, endless exploitation. There is no liberation without dismantling capitalism. Here's a good video from what's her name? Carrie Wedler? Pleasure to burn.
You're not allowed to talk about it, but there's one minority responsible for the most crime, savagery, and aggression and suffering worldwide. This minority brutalizes and terrorizes untold numbers of innocent people, but if you talk about it, most people call you a crazed extremist. I've been censored repeatedly for showing what they do, but it needs to be said. The most dangerous minority on Earth is the group that controls and rules over the vast majority through violent authority. History speaks for itself. People acting in the name of political authority and government have killed and maimed astronomical numbers of people, dwarfing any other demographic of offender. It doesn't matter what kind of government it is, monarchy, dictatorship, communist or fascist regime, representative democracy, it's all still rooted in violence. Some subcategories may kill more than others, but violence is the fundamental language of the state and those who enforce its rules, aside from the political semantics that dress it up as civilization, peace, and humanity. This rule by minority statist system is portrayed as the only way to keep humankind from chaos, while perpetually instigating chaos. It rests on the delusional logic that people are bad and stupid, so we need a government made up of people who are bad and stupid. Enter another subgroup of the most dangerous minority, the people law enforcement and soldiers take orders from. The political tier of the ruling class, who believe they have a right to issue dictates and orders and have men with guns carry them out under threat of extortion and violence. They're merely people, just like the millions and billions they rule over, and yet they assume the moral authority to control, steal from, aggress against, and even kill, letting their armed henchmen do the dirty work, even for victimless behaviors the state forbids. No other class of humans claims or is perceived to have such special rights to a monopoly on theft, violence, and domination over others. Most people understand that it's wrong to threaten or commit theft or non-defensive violence. They correctly condemn it because no one has that right. And yet the ruling minority's programming creates a cognitive dissonance where the people believe that through special rituals, incantations, and the god of authority, they can confer rights they don't have to other people who inherently also don't have them. And the masses exempt them from real accountability for their behavior because they sit in sacred buildings or wear special costumes to designate their superiority, to signify their special rights to order you around and have their goons impose theft and violence. If the masses really object to any given master, there they're allowed to vote for a different master, but never to cast off the ruling class's authority altogether. Combined with the order followers and enforcers, these perceived masters make up the most dangerous minority. But they're only so dangerous because the majority, the masses, can't see through the indoctrination. They've been convinced from childhood that they're literally the government, and they harbor the delusion that they partake in the pseudo-victories and real failures and atrocities of a handful of state agents. In America, many people believe we adopted the Constitution, we stormed the beaches of Normandy, we dropped the atomic bomb, we threw people in camps, we lost the Vietnam War, or we invaded Iraq. No, we didn't. People acting in the name of government and authority did, funded by money stolen from the people they claim authority over. But the fact that so many people's brains perceive reality as though they took part in these things shows just how thorough the brainwashing is. And because people are conditioned to identify with said ruling class in the state, they're far less able to question it because it's a core part of their identity. Most people don't consciously want to be ruled over, but they must choose between that or ruling over others, and so they seek the illusion of power through government. They excuse injustice and authoritarianism so long as their perceived team is the one committing it. The people demonize each other while the ruling class keeps centralizing and strengthening their grip over them no matter what partisan biases they hold. Those acting in the name of authority are the most dangerous minority because the very nature of the system's control and power keeps people angry, terrified, reactive, and locked into subservience as they wait for the very entities causing the anger, terror, and reactivity to come to their rescue, sacrificing their liberties in the process. None of this is to say that everyone who works for government institutions is evil and violent. The postman, national park ranger, and firefighter surely are not. Even as many police officers and other violent enforcers abuse their power, some really did join the force because they wanted to help others. But that doesn't change the fact that their incomes are paid through extortion, and that's enabled by the exact same perception of authority that leads to so much abuse, exploitation, and brutality from others who seek power precisely because they revel in inflicting harm and controlling others. I'm often asked what my solution is. The first one would be to stop believing in this abusive racket and reclaim your own authority, not through violence but agency and responsibility to yourself and your communities and fellow humans. The belief that you need violent authoritarians to do it for you stunts your capacity to do it yourself. Without government, who would convince the masses that they can't lead themselves? People can quibble all they want about which subgroup is responsible for this dumpster fire of humanity, but there's one common denominator among the worst of the worst evils: the belief in and exertion of violent authority. And the only thing that allows them to keep wielding this barbaric authority is your belief in the lie that it's legitimate.
All right. Thanks to Obsolete Optics for posting that. Pretty good little video there. I want to play this one. I want to play this one before I take off today. Thank you. Someone bought a coffee. Thank you so much. I don't know who exactly bought me a coffee, but thank you for buying me a coffee. I appreciate it. Oh, two more I'm going to play. I think that generally people know that something is wrong, but there is a fundamental misunderstanding about what exactly is wrong. And then there's a fundamental lack of understanding and explanation of what it is that we would have to do to get out from under the rock that we're under. You know, the boot is probably better. We're not under a rock, we're under a boot. And as long as people feel relatively free and capable of making money and being, you know, and living wealthy lifestyles, or having the ability to access making money and living a wealthy lifestyle, then everything's great. No reason to upset the apple cart, right? But slowly that ability is being siphoned away from people until the people that have money and are able to move freely and have everything they want is becoming smaller and smaller. It just then the control grid that is being pushed in, I think, is going to be it's already apparent to people as well. Even to the people that have money and are able to move around and, buy things that they want and do everything that they want, they can see that the control grid is being pushed in. And eventually the control grid is going to be pushed into the point where you're not going to be able to move around and do everything that you want, even if you have money. Unless you're in the club, unless you're in the protected class. And the ability to turn your money off, or your ability to make money, is going to be that much easier. And so your freedom is going to become a lot more precarious. All right, nobody. Peace out. Okay, I want to play 2 more videos and then I'm going to leave you for the day. This is interesting. This guy, Hunter Kozak, was asking Charlie Kirk a question when he was shot. This is a very interesting video because they show him pre-asking him the question, he was reenacting his reaction to Charlie Kirk being shot. And everybody's like, what is happening? This is absolutely bizarre, right? It makes it's starting the whole idea that this was a real event. Again, this is a fake event. Were there people there? Were things happening? Was Charlie Kirk there? Sure. But beyond that, you can't really say much about this was real. And the very interesting thing is that this guy is the son of a Jimmy Kimmel show producer. I think it's producer. This is very weird. This is a very weird video.
So can anybody explain to me why this young man that was standing in front of Charlie Kirk is practicing being outraged at seeing Charlie Kirk get shot or assassinated or whatever before he even arrives at the event?
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence?
This young man's name is Hunter Kozak, and for some reason, he was seen practicing being horrified by something. And then next thing you know, something horrifying happened 15 minutes later. So I want to ask you, do you think this was a coincidence? And if not, why would somebody be in the crowd practicing being horrified, and then out of nowhere, something horrifying happened, like he knew it was about to happen? So how do you think he did? Did he do a good job?
Steve Kozak, the father of Hunter Kozak, has been working for Jimmy Kimmel for years. What are the chances that Hunter Kozak asks Charlie Kirk a very ironic question right before Charlie Kirk's life is taken in front of a live audience full of thousands of people? Jimmy Kimmel then gets brought into this by the media, simultaneously dogpiling on him and making him the scapegoat because of his monologue. And then it turns out that one of the higher-ups at Jimmy Kimmel's show is the father of the last person to speak to Charlie Kirk.
This is bizarre.
That's weird.
You can't make this shit up, especially when you consider all of the other shady things that are going on with this case. It really makes you wonder.
That is freaking weird. Anyways, you don't buy it? I mean, you don't think he looks like he's practicing?
So can anybody explain?
I mean, he's not.
Charlie Kirk get shot or assassinated or,
you know what, who knows I won't discuss it anymore. That's okay. I know we've had enough of this Charlie Kirk shit. It is a weird video though. It looks like he's practicing. Beyond that, I don't know. Everything about this is just a very strange story. What's the last thing I want to play for you? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Really good answer. Somebody asked this gentleman in England about immigration and whether it's really a problem. And he gives a really pretty great answer. And you can apply this answer to the US. Absolutely.
Why'd you say no? Because immigration a problem in the UK?
No,
Why'd you say no?
because it's fundamental to our existence.
Oh, why'd you say that?
Because we need it. We don't have enough people being born. Simple.
Why does the UK fear immigration?
We're told to.
By who?
The elites that own us. So the capitalists and the billionaires that are in charge that really own us and own our parties, mostly the Tories, but now Labour as well, they tell us to fear it because they need someone to blame for our problems when really they're the ones causing our problems.
Last 10 years, there's 6.2 million people on the waiting list for NHS and 2 million children in poverty in the UK. That allegedly, that is due to immigration. Well, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's not due to immigration. Immigration is the reason our NHS works. The thing that causes that is governments deliberately underfunding and sort of underutilising the NHS for what it could really be. It's nothing to do with immigrants coming in. It's to do with it being badly managed and badly funded.
Yep. That's pretty much it. The immigration problem is not a problem. It's a complete, I don't know what you want to call it. It's very effective, though. It gets people all riled up and like, oh my God. But they make the whole thing happen, right? They just make the whole thing happen. But the truth is that, yeah, the birth rates for the current population in the UK and the US are both dropping dramatically. We couldn't keep our population up if it weren't for immigration, and everything points to the reality that both Democrats and Republicans allow lots of immigration and encourage lots of immigration to happen for several reasons. One of which is undermining wages. On purpose. They do that on purpose. They don't want people to have living wages. They want to keep people on subsistence wages. They want to keep people hungry and fighting over scraps and barely surviving. They want to keep people in that state. And immigration is one of the ways to do that, to undermine, decent wages or the idea that people should have decent wages. And then they turn around and scapegoat immigrants. Then they turn around and blame immigrants for the problems in the country. It's absolutely insanity. Once you understand it, you'll see that it's not even a thing that people should be getting upset about because it's completely created by the government. It's ridiculous. Denver says, my brother and his wife just had another kid today, exactly 1 year after their first child was born. Interesting. That's hilarious. So they both have the same birthday, but 1 year apart. And that's crazy. There's some reports of Kimmel's chef being good friends with. I'm sure that's why when the Kimmel thing happened, I was like, I'm not like a supporter of Kimmel. I think it was ridiculous that they were trying to get him kicked off of air, but again, theater. For what we can gather of what is going on, all theater. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end the show here. Thanks for everyone showing up and showing out. Thanks for coming through and watching the show. I appreciate y'all. Oh, by the way, I keep forgetting, because I'm spending so much time talking about Substack and Odyssey and all that. I do have a new song out that I put out a couple days ago. It's called Bang the Bots. It's over on my newer Bandcamp page if you want to go and listen to it. I will put the link in all the chats. Bang the Bots. It's on my Matador page, or you can go to my Instagram page, and it's in the bio, and you can go check it out there. I also posted a article on Substack for y'all to read if you want to read it. What else? I think that's it. All right, I'll be back tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Appreciate you. Today is the last day for X, so no more X streaming tomorrow. Everybody go over to Substack or go over to Odyssey or whatever. All right. And you know the drill. Beware the bear.